So Sherif, thanks for joining me today. We're here coming off of a big announcement of yours that you made a little over a month now. I think it was November 9th. It's almost a month to the day.
Yeah.
So you've probably been fielding a lot of questions, and there was a lot of excitement, a lot of activity. So I think this is a good time to kind of address some of the stuff that's out there. And we talked about putting this together based on your most recent announcement. And I think we threw around, like, do we call it hard talk, tough talk? But this is really to kind of help unpack some of the questions maybe that are floating around out there that people may not have the opportunity to sit down with you one-on-one, but this is a close second to doing that. So I thought, without further ado, just jump right in and start talking about, okay, I'll give the mic to you to talk about, first of all, you're going freemium. That was a big splash. What's the offer? What's this all about? Why don't we start there?
So, after I sold the brokerage, we started looking back, and you unpack what you did previously.
Yeah.
And what we realized was the biggest thing that really kickstarted our digital journey was the mobile app. And a lot of brokers are looking at stuff on the front end, how to kickstart or accelerate their sales, being able to quote, bind, and issue, all that great stuff. But the reality is, existing brokerages, their value is in their existing book of business and maintaining that book of business. And that was where we started. And being able to, strengthen that side of the business gave us a lot more ammunition to be able to strengthen the sales side of the business and really accelerate and scale up the business. And so we were like, okay, this is an area that we strongly believe in. This is the experience we've had. Let's, how do we get this out to brokers faster? How do we get brokers off the fence?
Yeah.
And we started to realize that, okay, in terms of the mobile app itself, right? It's a brilliant tool. It's we could talk, at length about the additional profitability it gives to the brokerage, the efficiencies that it brings in, all that.
Yeah.
But we realized, the real power behind it is giving brokers back access to data that they just haven't had before.
Right.
And then being able to build on that, and how do we take that and give brokers even more power with their data to accelerate everything else by leveraging that technology. So we thought, okay, we're going to give away the mobile app for free, get brokers started, because get them to the starting line, start digitizing, moving on, and then from there we build everything up from there. And that was the logic behind it.
Okay, and it's a courageous move, right? Like to go out, because once people get something for free, then there's the test right there, right? Like if you have an opportunity to establish value, but how do you get them beyond that point, right? So with anything that's out there that's free, there's a lot of CRMs, a lot of SaaS tools that are freemium, and you sign up for the first level, and then you have other features and benefits that are available in some of the gold, silver, and platinum level. I'm sure you've got something similar to that in your pricing structure. But let's just talk a little bit about, if I'm a broker out there that has been a skeptic, I haven't really embraced digital, I'm kind of doing things the old school way, or maybe I'm just skeptical about anything that's free. Well, like, what are you doing with my data? Because that's my valuable data. So I'm talking as a broker right now. Sure. I own my book, and we've talked about this in every broker I talk to. Like, really, there's not a lot of tangible assets in a brokerage, right? There's not equipment. You're not manufacturing anything. Your customer list is your business in a lot of cases, right? So now you're giving me this free tool to help me optimize my business. And we'll unpack some of the things you said earlier, but let's just talk, like, here's one of the tough questions from a security standpoint. What are you doing with my data? How do I know it's safe?
For sure. Well, we actually touched on this in the presentation. And first of all, we get it. I was a broker. I owned a brokerage. I know that the value of the brokerage is in that book of business, right?
Yeah.
And funny enough, I love that you asked that question, because I wish more brokers ask that question around data and security, because a lot of them will still use tools, whether it be, different email tools or mass email tools or communication tools, whatever, and they don't ask those questions. Because we understand of how sensitive it is, we go far and to secure the data. So first of all, everything for us is hosted on the cloud, right? So we're using one of the behemoth providers, and we brought in companies like Ernst & Young that have put together the security framework for us, and we do regular penetration testing on our systems. We've got a full security protocol internally. We do regular like training and working with our people, constantly trying to find breakdowns in the system. And there is no such thing as a 100% system. We know that. Even the largest government systems can get infiltrated, but you're doing everything you can to prevent it. And we meet the highest thresholds because we actually work with some of the largest players in the industry. You can't be there unless you're meeting the highest security protocol.
Right. So that's important. So there's layers of encryption. It's in secure clouds. You're using, global providers that everyone's familiar with. And I think it's important to understand we're in a highly regulated industry. You also are managing carrier data, so you have to meet those security standards. I think from a security standpoint, with that answer, you've probably checked the box. I would be satisfied with that personally. I can't speak for everybody else out there, but strictly from a customer standpoint, if I'm worried, here's a direct question: are you selling my data to third parties? I'm not talking security at this point. I'm talking about my customers' information. Is it anonymized? Is it going anywhere? Is it leaving your servers? What do you say about that?
No, we're not selling the broker's data. What we do is we've added another layer where we take anything personally identifiable for that customer out of the data pool. So you have your own, every broker has their own data container that has their client data in there, and only they've got access to it.
Okay.
We then take out the personally identifiable information, names, driver's license, addresses, even when it comes to date of birth, we convert that into a numerical age because we know it's an important factor. We don't want to know the person's date of birth, so we anonymize as much as we can in there. Actually, almost everything out of there, so you can't really identify the person. We even anonymize the brokerage, so even the data that's in the pool, we have no idea what brokerage that data point came from. All we know is we're seeing certain data elements. We don't know the person. We don't know where it came from, anything like that. And we pool it all together to extract intelligence for it. So do we sell the data? Yes, but we sell it back to the brokers. We sell it back to the brokers in the form of intelligence. So some of the announcements we made around Broker X-ray and the intelligence tools, that's what we're using the data for, is to apply a level of intelligence that brokers have never had and give it back to them, because no one broker has enough data to extract that kind of intelligence. Take it, strip it, pool it all together, and get something valuable out of it.
And then you can give it back to me in the form of market analysis or trend analysis or segmentation, that type of thing. Right.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, the first tool that we built for it, Broker X-ray, basically that's what it is. It's a segmentation tool. Rather than a broker having to remarket their book every year, which they can't, and being caught off guard when a client calls and says, I looked at a different brokerage and I could save, 20% with this company. Why didn't you move me to this company? You have this company, which is the worst situation a broker can be in. Well, now we're giving that intelligence, saying, okay, listen, if John goes out and shops, his premium is greater than 10% than what he could find out there in the market. Reshop this person or do something with it. Right. Or maybe John's paying lower than 10%. So you're not optimizing that client. It could be because it doesn't have enough cover as compared to what others look like him, or he's got a low premium, gives you an opportunity to sell additional cover, sell additional limits, and or optimize that client. Or if they're in the green, send them the annual, we've done our part, we've looked, you're in a good spot. Even if they go out and shop, you're probably in a great spot. So it's that kind of intelligence that brokers have never had before that we give back to them.
I want to stay on that for a second because, when people talk about segmentation and analysis and market trends, blah, blah, it's a lot of buzz terms, right? And that people just kind of throw out there. And we all sound smart when we use those terms. But at the end of the day, the nitty gritty, I'm a scrappy broker. I'm a good salesperson. I'm all about relationships. How is this tool, these people that I've had relationships with and been doing business with 20, 30 years, they're giving me their kids' business, right? I manage the book for their parents. These are valuable relationships. How do those tools help me? Are you saying those tools can help me manage those relationships? Like, could that be a form of segmentation so that I know if like this is a high net worth or high value client? Are you going to help me identify those clients and separate them from maybe some of my clients that are just maybe have an auto policy with me and they'll leave me as soon as they get $100 discount on their premiums?
Yeah, it doesn't matter who the client is, whether it's high net worth, your regular retail clients, whatever it may be. We take the data elements, right, the data attributes of that client and say, okay, John looks like this. He's got this type of risk, right? He's kind of living in this area.
Yeah.
If John went out and shopped the market, what's John going to find out there? And we're not using raters. This is pure AI. It is true AI intelligence. To say, okay, well, if John actually goes out and shops, other people that look like John are actually paying about this. With this market here, you could be at risk, right? So rather than you sending the renewal to John saying, hey, John, here's the renewal, you'll be able to send it out with confidence saying, okay, I know that if John goes out and shops, he's likely not going to find anything better. So we're in good shape. I've done my part. Or if there is something worse, I treat that renewal a little different, saying, John, listen, you've done business for a long time. I think I can actually do better for you. I'm actually going to move you here because you can save money. And even if they go out and shop, you've got confidence in knowing you're in a good spot. You've done your job as a broker and you're really able to laser focus where your efforts go to provide maximum value for your customer.
So you talked a bit about earlier, this is some of the things I wanted to unpack, how a lot of brokers tend to focus on new business coming in the door, but they're at risk of potentially neglecting their existing book. So is this tool going to help me with my retention? You talked a bit about relationship management, but would you say if you were to talk about like what's the biggest benefit from onboarding this tool into your business and making it part of your workflow, is it like a retention strategy for managing your existing book? If you were to kind of pick one thing?
I'd say first and foremost a retention strategy, but it actually ticks off a couple of boxes. So retention strategy one, but it's going to give you significantly more efficiency because you'll know exactly where you need to focus your efforts. So it frees up time to do other things like grow your book of business, right?
Yeah.
But it also allows you to optimize your existing clients. So not just retain them, but you're extracting maximum value out of that client. And in return, they're getting maximum value for what they're paying by having additional cover, limits, products. Like it's a win-win-win for everybody.
Okay, so that the optimization piece, again, love the answer. I'm going to break it down a bit because that's another buzz term, right? And this is tough talk, right? So in the optimization piece, does that mean robots are doing this for me? The tech's taking over and now I got all these like automated canned messages going out to my clients? I don't want that.
There is zero messages going to the client.
Okay.
Nothing. Okay. The only message that comes from the client is the broker. The whole point of the tool is that it is giving additional intel. It's like, okay, listen, you might have an exposure here. You better look here. You're leaving some money on the table here. Do something about it. You're probably in good shape, but if you still want to remarket it, you can. Like every broker has the option to do. Every broker operates differently. We're just giving the intel, and the broker from there says, "Okay, I have this intel. What do I do with it? How do I manage? Like how do I save this business? How do I get more value out of this piece of business? How do I treat this guy that is probably in good shape? That's how you maximize value out of your book."
So it's like an action plan or a to-do list on steroids. Like if I'm a broker and I've got this high value client coming up, but I got 20 of these I got to deal with this week. The tool is going to help me to understand, okay, here are the opportunities with this particular portfolio, this is where you should focus your time and your effort, your conversations, because and you talked about it in another podcast, and I think you guys did a good job of unpacking it, but the talent crunch. So with less talented, skilled, licensed resources, you have less time to do things, right? And so if you're going to do some of the preparation for me, or maybe pre-contact planning and strategizing, so is that where you would say the optimization comes in, is helping me understand where I should focus on each of those, so I can maximize the effectiveness of those conversations?
100%.
Okay.
So there is not a broker in Canada, I can confidently say this, that isn't struggling with people right now, that they need more people. A lot more work gets pushed down from carriers, so there's a lot more pressure on brokerages to do a lot more. Getting people is a challenge. You have to have licensed people, talking to, and then experience plays in and whatnot. And so brokers are in this kind of vicious circle where I can't grow because I don't have time to grow, but I also don't have time to get to all my clients. Like, everybody wants to grow, but they can't. Like, it's this vicious circle. So all we're doing is allowing the broker to laser focus and say, okay, we can't tackle everything. Mm-hmm. Where are we going to extract the most value for us, right? Is it in the clients that are more likely at risk? Do we increase retention? Or we know they're at risk. Do we roll the dice? Do we focus more on sales and tackle it when they come in? Or do we want to maximize value out of our book? So we're going to look at the ones that, we could sell additional product. Like, there's so many ways they could look at it depending on their own unique situation.
Okay. So if I try the, free Trumobile, let's say I try it for, I don't know what the trial period is, if it's 30, 60, 90 days. Forever. Okay. It's free. That's compelling. That's compelling, right?
It's free forever.
That's putting yourself out there. So what if I use it for a year, but I realize after a year, it's just not for me. I call up Trufla and I say, I want to cancel it. What happens to my data there? And what do you do with those people, those conversations? Because if I'm using it for a year and I'm still not getting value out of it, maybe there's something wrong with me. Like, maybe I'm not using it correctly. And because I guess the follow-up question to that, and I'll let you answer the first one first, is how do you help me integrate it into my business? But before you talk about that, if I just want to cancel it, what happens to all that information that I put into this tool over the last year?
If you want to cancel, you can cancel it at any time. We will delete your container that's got your data in it.
Okay.
The challenge we have is, because we do such a great job anonymizing the data, we have no way of going into the bigger data pool and knowing which one of those ones are your clients. But in terms of your clients and your container, it's gone. It's wiped. We keep no records of that.
Yeah, and I think that's reasonable, right? You're anonymizing and slicing and dicing that data and using it for market, and let's face it, the carriers are doing that whether you realize it or not, right? And all the other data aggregators out there are doing it whether you realize it or not. So that's an honest answer, and it's realistic, right? So my information, my container is deleted. Can I, if I want to export some of that information and take it with me, is that possible, or am I getting too micro here with that question?
Everything is exportable. I mean, it's technology. The whole idea is this belongs to the broker.
Yeah,
it's the broker's information. We're not going to hold anything back. We're not going to be, the vendor that, you want to export your data, you're going to pay us there you go, an arm and a leg for that. No.
You know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Take your data and it is yours. It's yours to start with.
Yeah. Okay. So what other? So let's go to the second part of the question, and then we'll move on to something else. How do you help me? Because I want to sign up for this free tool. That's great. And there's lots of people that might be click happy, and in a moment they'll sign up, but they don't really know, like, how do I maximize the effectiveness of this tool? What sort of support do you give me as a broker when I sign up for Trumobile for free? I'm trying it out. How do you help me integrate that into my business?
So we walk you through the whole process of getting it up and running. Okay. And then from there, we actually have a program called the Ambassador Program, where we're working with someone who's designated inside the brokerage to increase usage and adoption of the tool, because there's no point in just deploying something and not realizing value. And we'll take best practices from different brokerages. For example, what we used to do is Sharp, and this is how we got adoption up and using our tool. We have clients that called all the time and said, "Hey, I need a copy of my PIN card." Right? We need a copy. Okay, no problem. Here's your options, Mr. Client, for your PIN card. I can request a copy of the PIN card from the insurance company. It's going to take 4 or 5 days to get out to you. Or I can set you up with an online account right now. You can log in, print off a copy of yourself, or you can download the app and have a copy of it on the app right now instantly. Which would you prefer? We cut email out of the equation. So the client's like, well, okay, well, sign me up with my account. I'll just download the app and I'll have a copy of my PIN card right now, or I'll just go online and print a copy myself. Great. You solved the problem and you've got the adoption up. But if you email them, you haven't solved the problem, right?
No.
So we bring best practices to the table and we walk brokers through. And every month we're meeting with the broker to say, hey, what's the engagement? How can we pivot? What are different things that we could do? Plus all the online training, the regular webinars and everything. And we're coming from a background of experience. We know what works.
Right.
And we're going to try to tailor that for that broker's own unique experience.
Cool. So it's been a month since you made the announcement. This is a bit of a vulnerable question, but how much traction are you getting since you made the announcement?
If a brokerage called us today and wanted to add the app, they would be waiting a little bit.
Okay. All right. That's good.
They'd be waiting a bit. Yeah. Like we've got a queue and we can't deploy everybody in one shot. So there's a queue building up. So the response has been phenomenal.
That's fantastic. And I hope your conversion rate's even better on this. And so, we could talk a little bit about, and I think it is worthwhile because you fielded some tough questions here. And, you've talked about the free version and maybe what some of the skeptics might think about that. What's in the other offerings? If I am getting tons of value out of the free version, but there's still something missing, I want to take it to the next level. This is a little bit of a chance for you to give a bit of a sales pitch. What's in the other offers that I don't get in the free offer?
So there's only 2 versions. It's either the free version, which gives you the mobile brand, the broker branded mobile app, all the kind of the functionality, everything. The premium offer includes 2 features that aren't in the free offering. So one, we've embedded a 360 communications platform. So think of it like Constant Contact, MailChimp, those services built into it. So being able to take data, really personalizing it, based on very specific data points, creating not just custom emails, but because it is tied so close to the mobile device, you can do SMS and push notifications as well. You have to have a mobile app to do push notifications.
Right.
That takes your communications to a whole different level. So it really personalizes the communications to your client. It captures it all. You can create your own custom emails. There's templates, all the messaging. You can cut it up based on carrier. You can send out a push notification once a month to the client saying, don't forget, next week you have a payment that's coming up with the payment amount. It's that granular. So it's ultra powerful. So that's the first feature. The second one is Broker X-Ray, which is the intelligence, intelligence tool. So that comes with the premium version. And there really is only 2 prices. It's either free or $9.99 a month. It doesn't matter how many brokers you have in your brokerage. It doesn't matter if you're the largest or the small. It's $999 a month or free, and you get everything. And just for the communications platform alone, most brokers are paying way more than that just on the communication side, let alone the broker X-ray side and everything else. So we've made it. We've kept the barrier to entry for any brokerage really simple, really easy, really low.
That's really cool. And that's a very competitive price for the premium offer. I can just see even in the, looking at this from the outside, just in the automated communication tools like the push notifications, et cetera, how that could really minimize inbound and outbound calls because the missed payment scenario that you talked about, which happens, right? A lot of people have these on their credit cards or whatever, and they make a big purchase for the business and they forget, especially on the commercial side or whatever, and something happens, or maybe the controller's not up to date or not on top of things. And so those automated reminders can probably eliminate 4 or 5 phone calls on one simple. And why would you want to tie up a licensed resource on a conversation about, hey, your premium's coming out on the 15th, just a reminder, right? And that alone, I think, you talked about in your last conversation ratio of admin staff, I think, to premium.
Yeah.
And I could see that really helping lower that number or maximize that area, right? So that
and we've seen it over and over and over again with brokers that are adopting the tool and getting their clients to adopt the tool. And I mean, we're all used to it. Every month I get a notification from the bank saying, hey, don't forget, your line of credit is due, or your credit card is due, or we're taking your mortgage payment out on this day, or whatever it may be. It's no different. Hey, by the way, next week, your insurance payment is coming out. That'll reduce a lot because people don't really think about it, may not even be aware. Okay, I better make sure I have money in the account, or there's space on my credit card, or however I'm paying. And it's an extra touch point. It's like, oh, you're looking after me. It's an extra.
And it's not spam. What other questions? And then I want to go into a different type of segmentation. But what other common questions are you getting? Or tough questions have you gotten in the last 30 days since you made the announcement?
A couple of tough questions. So one, we're always getting asked about Bms integration, right?
Okay.
We announced one integration, which was with Power Broker. We are working with almost all the BMS vendors, or talking with them. I shouldn't say we're talking with them to get integration done. So if there's a vendor somebody wants, ask your vendor, and that probably helps us, get to the finish line faster to do all the integrations. And they've all been cooperating and working with us. So it's been fantastic from that perspective. And the other challenging thing is everyone's just really asking, is this real? What's the catch here? What's the scam? Are you going to do this for a year, and then you're going to charge us through the nose, later down the road? And no, it is free, and there's going to be more features and more capabilities that come in, and it is to power distribution of insurance through brokers. In fact, I just learned yesterday that it's already kind of having an impact with some of the carriers. One of the carriers who has their own app out is already changing the layout of their app to make it more broker focused.
See? Yeah. And that's
just came out.
And you touched on that, I think the day we talked, after your announcement, one of the things I picked up on was you talked about, obviously the carriers have these multi-billion-dollar budgets, and so they allocate all this money towards marketing every year, and then they push their apps out onto the client. And so who has the ownership of that space, that valuable space on your client's smartphone? And if that client's been doing business with you for even 2 or 3 years, or even the 20, 30-year client, why isn't your app on their phone? Because you have the relationship ultimately at the end of the day, right? The carrier is manufacturing an insurance product, but you own the client relationship and you're closer to the client. So why not have an app sitting? Even if you don't have to have it all figured out either, right? And you don't need this multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar budget to compete with the big carriers that have all of that deployed already, right?
And we can look at it from a different perspective too. Mm-hmm. I mean, what we've done with the whole free is basically said, aside from the functionality of the app, even if your client's not using the app as regularly as you'd like, we've just given you the ability to have free marketing space on their phone, because as they're scrolling through, they're going to see your app at some point. They're going to see your logo. They're going to remember you. Insurance is not something they touch every day. So just by taking the free version, we're saying we're giving you free marketing on all your clients' phones. And most brokers will pay for marketing, whether it's billboard advertising or bus bench advertising, whatever.
Yeah.
Just take the space on the phone. We're giving you the ability to take the space on the phone.
Well, and once you have the space, then you have the ability to try to become more relevant to the customer, right? Because ultimately, When the apps aren't relevant, they go to the back page or they eventually get deleted if they're taking up space. But you got to get in there before you can start, earning the right to kind of build that relevance with the customer. Let's face it, and forgive me or virtually smack me if I'm speaking out of turn here. But by signing up for the free version, you're ultimately feeding into the data pool for the premium users. It's not your personal information, so that's not being compromised. But if you are a free user for an extended period of time, it's probably in your best interest to at least consider the premium. And I'm not getting anything for doing this interview. But to me, it's just logical. Like, people are smart enough to connect the dots. Yes, that information. So you're not benefiting while the premium users will benefit, right? So, the more free users you have signing up, the richer that those insights will be. And at some point, that's going to create a groundswell. That's going to create demand.
Sure.
And you know what? If you're giving away such a valuable tool free of charge, then there should be some benefit somewhere, right? And I don't think that's unreasonable, quite frankly. So if I spoke out of turn there, I'm sorry.
No, you're right. I mean, the tool, we're basically saying to the brokers that the information, the data is there. The intel is there for you. You just got to access it and use it. And the first, we're talking about the first X-ray, which is the renewal or the premium X-ray, right?
Yeah.
We actually have another one coming out right after it, which is actually relevant to every single brokerage in the country, which is coverage X-ray. So basically, it'll look at every client and say, okay, is this client underinsured or not, as compared to other clients that look like this? So are we mitigating an E&O exposure here? And the broker can manually go in and look if there's gaps of coverage in any policy. Did we forget to put sewer backup on anything? Did we forget to put an endorsement on something? And it'll just scan it for you, and it'll tell you, hey, this is what's missing in your book. Prevent the E&O before a catastrophe happens, and all those E&Os start coming out. Like, it is one of the most powerful E&O prevention tools that a broker has never had.
Yeah.
And it's now going to be available.
And so that doesn't, and it's not taking the human out of the equation. It's eliminating the human error factor, which is that's going to be in any business, right? So that's a big one. And I would actually welcome that if I was a broker, because with all the things that I'm sorting out, and you end up customizing and tailoring a lot of coverage and policies based on the specific needs of that client. It's quite possible that you're going to miss something, even if you're at the top of your game, right? So
we've had it happen many times at the brokers. It's just human error. I forgot to put the endorsement. I put 50,000 limit instead of 500,000 limit, or 500,000 instead of 5 million. Like, it happens.
Right. So kind of like to close off a little bit here, if I was to segment brokers, and I'm doing this, these are my terms for simplification. You've got your builders, your growers. That's one segment, right? Those are the ones that are like gangbusters. I want to just blow things up. And those are probably going to be your early adopters, I would imagine. Then you've got I'm going to call them coasters, where it's just like, okay, you know what? I'm clipping along. I've been, doing whatever. I'm writing 5 million in premium a year, 10 million in premium, whatever that number is, but I'm happy. So, I'm not really out there kind of looking. And then you've got those who maybe are potentially approaching an exit and looking at succession planning. So out of those three pillars, would you say, let's talk about the middle one? Because I think the obvious one is the growers. The middle one, where I'm just kind of coasting along and things are good, and I'm happy with my business. Why should I give this a look?
So even if they're coasting along, there's inherent benefits where you're not aggressively growing your business. At least keep what you have.
Yeah.
Maintain the book that you have. Like, if we can help increase the retention or prevent money, leaving the brokerage for deductibles for E&Os, things like that, or being in uncomfortable situations, we have the ability to do that.
So if I give really good customer service, because that's what I've built my business on all these years, and that's why I maintain that level, because I'm known in my market, I'm known in my community. If I just give really good customer service, why is that a threat for me? I'm not worried about losing any business. I'm the best broker in town.
Well,
what do you say to someone with that attitude?
Unless you have a retention of 100%, then you're not there, and nobody has our attention of 100%. And no matter how good you are, we're all human. Errors happen along the way, and there is no brokerage that can touch every single client every year. It's impossible. Like, we're just giving you the ability to give that remarkable service and just be smarter about it. Just be more intelligent. And even for the other bucket, for the brokers that are just wanting to exit out, look, they can look it up right now. There's dozens of articles out there. Canadian Underwriter, Insurance Business Mag, Deloitte has stuff. Any additional technology in the brokerage increases the value of the brokerage on exit. So just by taking a free tool, adopting it with some of your clients, you've already increased the value of your brokerage on exit, because you're more digital, and that's already worth more.
That's a big one, Sherif. And I think, I would say to both of those camps, even if you think you're untouchable, you're the best brokerage in town, someone's going to eat your lunch at some point. Someone's going to try to eat your lunch. And so that never lasts forever, unless you're in a closed market where the barriers to entry are so high. But last time I checked, there's not a lot of those left, right? And so, and then the piece about that is that if you are in that stage of where you've been clipping along, you got it figured out, the renewals are coming in, the referrals are coming in, it's steady Eddie. You want to maximize the potential resale value of that business when you do eventually exit. Sure. So, those are going to be things that buyers will look at, and that could increase your multiple and give you that much more of a cushion. So I think that's a really good answer that you just gave. Sorry, was there something else you wanted to comment on?
No.
Okay. No. Yeah. So I would just say, to kind of, I guess, close things off, because, one of the things I took away from this, which was big, when you're in the broker side of the supply chain, there's going to be more, not less, admin tasks coming down and competing for your resources time. And you don't have this unlimited and infinite amount of resources coming into the industry. So this is where we are in this crunch, where if you've been avoiding tech because you feel like it's just not part of your value prop, I feel like brokers are almost at a point where they have to embrace tech just to optimize what they have, even if they just want to maintain that business that they have, because there's going to be more and more coming, more and more demands to do things that maybe carriers were doing before that they're going to offload onto brokers, or just customer expectations are going to change. I don't want to beat up on carriers all the time, right? The expectation of the customer is changing. And if they're not asking for it today, eventually they're going to be asking for it. And if you don't look and do it, someone else probably is. So I would say this is kind of to me, it sounds like a no-lose proposition. Why not give it a shot? Any final thoughts from you? Any tough questions we didn't cover, Sherif?
I don't know. The toughest one is always around the data, right?
Yeah.
But no, that covers it all.
Okay, perfect. So where do I start if I'm sitting here and I sat through the last actually I think we almost went for 40 minutes, but I sat through this conversation, I listened. Okay, I'm willing to give it a shot. If I'm interested, how do I engage with you guys? What should I do next?
Best way is you can either reach out to us on LinkedIn or go to our website, trufla.com, click on Trumobile, and you'll be able to kind of sign up and request your broker app right there. So
awesome.
Claim your app.
Nice. Yeah. Claim it. It's there. It's yours for free.
Yeah, it's yours.
You know what? We didn't talk about this, but you know what I'd love to do? Just throw this out there as an idea is in the new year, potentially, is get some of the people that were courageous enough to step out and try this. And it is intimidating. I think that probably fear holds a lot of people back because they don't feel like they're tech savvy or they don't know how to integrate it into their business. But I wouldn't mind getting 2 or 3 or 4 of some of your new customers together and have a roundtable discussion. Just talk about unscripted. What was their experience when they tried out Trumobile for free? They signed up. It was new to them. What was it like? How did it change their business, the good, bad, and the ugly? If you'd be open to have a conversation like that, I'd love to do that in the new year.
Absolutely.
Awesome, Sherif. Thanks for sitting down with me today. Thanks for taking the tough questions and sitting in the hot seat. Really appreciate it. And good
Thanks for
luck with
having me.
everything.